Everything seems to have gone cup crazy. We had two draws yesterday for the Carabao Cup and for the Champions League group stages. We're going to be talking about those in today's video, as well as, of course, previewing tomorrow's big game against Newcastle in the Premier League. 5:30 kickoff. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be vlogging it. You should be seeing the vlog on Sunday. But in terms of a preview, without any further ado, let's get stuck into it, guys. So guys, of course, before we do get stuck into this, if you do enjoy the video, any support is absolutely amazing and much appreciated. Whether that be you liking the video, sharing the video, subscribing to the channel if you are new around here, and leaving your thoughts and comments in that comment section down below. You might be able to see, actually, I am joined by a new shirt in the background. We've now got the away shirt for this season with the man Kevin De Bruyne on the back. I'm going to be sporting that for the first time this Sunday. That arrived in the post today, so very exciting stuff. But the first thing we're going to be talking about is that game on Saturday. Did I just say I'll be wearing it for the first time on Sunday? I meant for the first time on Saturday. Tomorrow, as you'll be seeing this for the Newcastle game, which, as I've already mentioned, I'll be there. I'll be vlogging it. You should be seeing the video of that match day on Sunday. Hopefully, it's going to be a very happy, positive vibes video because we're going to be picking up all 3 points. But, as always in these previews, we're going to be covering a bit about the opposition, a bit about how we're going to be setting up, or my prediction, I should say, on how we're going to be setting up, and just a few things in general about the game. So it's a 5:30 kickoff. It's the last kickoff in the day in the Premier League. A fan of a night game because of the atmosphere. It usually brings out atmosphere, you know, under the lights, all that kind of good stuff. But not a fan of it because of the time I end up getting home. It tends to be a pretty long and late day having to travel to get to Manchester and whatnot. But yeah, it's a game that we should be winning. Newcastle haven't really had a fantastic start to the season, it's fair to say. They actually played against Nottingham Forest in the week in the Carabao Cup and lost 3-1 in what was a very, very dramatic game. They were 1-0 down, came back into the game in injury time and then conceded another 2 goals in injury time to lose 3-1. And, you know, I don't expect the team that they played in that game to be anywhere near the same team that they're playing against, us tomorrow. But still, you know, they're not doing great right now. They're yet to pick up a win. They've had defeats to Chelsea, they've had a defeat to Tottenham, and a 0-0 draw against Cardiff in a game which they definitely should have won, a game where Kennedy had an absolutely abysmal game, missed a penalty in the last minute and just had a poor game in general. But I actually think, speaking of Kennedy, he's probably their most dangerous player going forward. I mean, you've got to expect it to fit into the usual mould of games at the Etihad when any team from the bottom half, or I mean you could say any team outside of the top 4 comes and plays against us. They tend to stick men behind the ball, play for that counter-attack, and I think Kennedy's the kind of player. He's got a bit of pace, he can produce something out of nothing, and maybe he'll have one of those games where he could just pull a goal out of absolutely nowhere with the one shot that they have on target and pull out a 1-0 win. You just don't know, do you, sometimes? But I think he's going to be one of the danger men. I think when you look at their squad as a whole, it's not filled with tons of quality, it's not got an abundance of quality, but the 3 players that I'd highlight would be, as we've just touched upon, Kennedy, who can produce something out of nothing, John Joe Shelby, who's a very hit-and-miss player, but a bit more consistent of recent times, but he's got the ability in that right boot to put in a dangerous set-piece ball or perhaps banging a free kick of his own accord. So, got to be careful of that. And also, the young lad Murphy, I think it's Jacob Murphy, he's got his twin brother Josh, who plays for Norwich, I believe. In fact, no, it could be Cardiff, because I think they both played on the same pitch the other day. I think it's Jacob that's at Norwich and Josh that's at Newcastle, and he's a player with a lot of pace. And again, I mentioned this for the preview against Wolves. You've got to be careful on the counter-attack. Any team with pace has got the potential to cause a problem, and that is something that Murphy certainly does possess, so that's something we've got to be wary of. But as a whole, I don't think their squad's got a ton of quality in it. I think we should be okay if we play our usual game. Looking back at the last game we played against Wolves, you know, we got the 1-1 draw. I've covered my thoughts on this already, but in a nutshell, we didn't play amazingly, but we didn't play poorly either. I expect a better performance on Saturday. I think there could be a change in the back line. I think, or I hope at least, that we're going to see Stones and Laporte back there again, rather than Company. I've mentioned it several times now in these previews over the last week or so. I think Stones and Laporte are the partnership of the future. I think we should be playing them as regularly as physically possible. In the midfield is, I think, where we could see a change. Ilkay Gundogan didn't have the most effective game against Wolves, despite getting the assist with a nice ball in for the goal for Laporte. I think he was the weakest player in our midfield in that game, and I think that could see him getting the axe for this next game. Now, the question is, who is going to come in to replace him. And there's a few options that you could look at here. We could just do a like for like and bring in another midfielder, potentially put Bernardo Silva into central midfield, play Sane and Sterling, or Mahrez and Sane, or just, any combination of the wingers that we've got and put Bernardo in the middle. You could see Phil Foden coming in for a rare start. Maybe this is a chance for him to step up. Of course, De Bruyne being injured, we need someone in the middle of the park to fill in his boots. And, why not give Phil Foden a chance? He's shown, we all know he's got the potential. He's got ability on the ball. Whenever he's come on the pitch, he's shown he looks comfortable in the squad. I don't see. I would not have a problem if Phil Foden got a start tomorrow, or potentially going back to a 2 up top system and keeping it at a 4 at the back as well. So we saw Jesus and Aguero play together in the game where we absolutely demolished Huddersfield. We went back to a 1 up top against Wolves. Maybe you could see Jesus technically coming in to replace Gundogan, him pushing further on, Fernandinho perhaps pushing a bit further upfield as well, and more of like a regular 4-4-2 almost, with Aguero sort of Jesus in behind, or the other way around with Jesus further forward, Aguero in behind. 2 standard wingers, perhaps Bernardo Silva and Sane, or something of that kind. Maybe even Mendy getting down on that left-hand side, as we saw in that game against Huddersfield as well. So there's some potential to, again, perhaps go to 3 at the back with Mendy pushing on as a winger, or potentially bringing Sane in and having Mendy behind. It's a game where you don't foresee Newcastle having a lot of the ball, so maybe you will see that Mendy system being implemented again. It's very difficult to say, but I do think Gundogan's going to be dropped. It's just whether Jesus comes in for him and we go with 2 up top, or it's another midfielder that comes in. That is the question. I kind of hope that we go with the 2 up front. Potentially, like I say, we could have the 2 up top, Mendy going forward, and it's sort of acting like a back 3 where everyone shuffles across a little bit. We have Stones, Laporte and Walker at the back. That would limit Walker a little bit, which would disappoint me, but we could still play Mendy at left back as a regular, and then have 2 wingers and the 2 central midfielders as well. It really is a ton of options that we've got there. So personally, as I say, I'd like to see the 2 up top. I wouldn't mind seeing Mendy getting a bit further forward again, going back to a 3 at the back almost, and then seeing sort of Bernardo in the centre. You could then have Fernandinho, David Silva and Sterling on that right-hand side, or potentially Mahrez as well, with Mendy pushing forward on the left. Again, there is just so many options out there. And, whatever team that we put out there, as long as it's a strong-looking team, which 99% of the time it's going to be, we should come away with the win in that game. So, as I mentioned at the start of the video, we have, of course, also had a couple of cup competition draws as well. The most significant, of course, being the Champions League group stage draw, which has pitted us against Olympique Lyon from France, Shakhtar Donetsk, who are a familiar opponent from Ukraine, and Hoffenheim from Germany. I can't lie, guys, I am very happy with that draw in terms of being able to get through. We've avoided all the big teams, which is absolutely fantastic and pretty rare, to be honest. Even last year, where we got a decent draw, we still faced Napoli, who of course turned out to be an absolute force to be reckoned with. But this is the best draw I think we've had in recent times. I think Lyon are going to offer the biggest set. They've got some dangerous players, the likes of Memphis Depay, Toussaint, who is a little known, I don't want to say little known, but not the most well-known player. He's a very young CDM and someone I actually thought we might consider going in for to back up Fernandinho. So keep an eye on him. Toussaint plays in the central midfield. They've also got, of course, Nabil Fekir, who is linked to either Arsenal, Liverpool, Man United over the summer. So they have got some dangerous players. There's still a team that I'd expect us to beat home and away, but dangerous team, some good players in that squad. Shakhtar Donetsk, a team that we're very familiar with, played them a couple of times over the last couple of seasons. Last year they actually beat us 2-1 in what ended up being a bit of a dead rubber of a game, but still got the win. And although they've not got any major players, they've actually lost a couple over this season. The likes of Fred, who of course has gone to United, and they've also lost, who's the other one that's gone somewhere? I can't remember, but there's another one of their more dangerous players. I want to say Marlos, but it's not Marlos. Bernard left, that's his name. I can't remember where he's gone now, but they lost Bernard. And they're one of those teams that always seems to get talent coming through, proving themselves on the European stage, then moving on to a more well-known European league, as it were. So, although they've not got the most glittering squad list, they do play some nice football, and we saw that last year, home and away, where they did cause us some problems. And Hoffenheim are actually the team that I think we'll be most comfortable against. Not the biggest team in Germany by a country mile, as we all know. Still dangerous, don't get me wrong. Kramaric probably their most well-known and most dangerous player, but I expect them to be the most comfortable of the games, because I think although they might have a better squad ability-wise compared to Shakhtar, I don't think the atmosphere is going to be quite as daunting, and I don't genuinely think they play as good a football as Shakhtar do. So I think we should get through the group. I think it's a pretty nice group, as I've already said. I mean, when you're playing the Champions League, I would like to play against the big teams, but I also want to go through. It's a catch-22, really. Like, you want to see the big games and be pitting yourself against the best teams, but if you can avoid doing that until you get through to the knockout stages, you know, that's always great. So hopefully we don't embarrass ourselves. I don't see why that would happen. I'm sure Guardiola and the squad are happy with the draw as well, and hopefully we can get the business done. But the other draw that occurred as well, which was just after that one, was the one for the Carabao Cup. Of course, we won that competition last year. We want to be looking to defend that, and the first test that we're going to come up against is Oxford away from home. Never easy playing a lower division team away from home. I'm sure it's going to be a sellout. The players are going to be massively up for it, and I'm sure we won't be playing our first strength squad as well. So always going to be a tricky one. I'd like to see the likes of Foden starting that game, and hopefully, you know, showing that they have got the ability to pick apart teams like that. That's where you'd hope Foden will shine, where perhaps he's not got the most glamorous players around him as he would usually have. But I would like to see a bit of experience scattered in that team as well. And maybe I'm saying Otamendi, he's not made a start yet this season, has he? Maybe he could make a start in that game. I would kind of like to see him come back into the team for Newcastle as well. I mean, there's so many defensive options, I don't really know what I want, to be honest with you. So, you know, I'm sure Muric will be starting in goal. Someone, of course, that was recalled from loan recently to cover for Claudio Bravo. I'm sure that's where he'll be getting his game time. But I'd expect us to win that game, of course, but always going to be tricky because of the atmosphere. The opposition is going to be up. It's not going to be a pretty game. But, as I say, one that we should definitely come through. But that is going to end off the video, guys. Like I say, the main topic of the video was previewing the Newcastle game. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that fixture, your predictions, and also, of course, your thoughts on the Champions League draw. Like I say, in the group stage, I think it's the best draw we've had in recent times, so I am not disappointed with it. In fact, I'm very, very happy with it. But let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section down below as well. But that is going to end off the video, guys. I hope you all have a fantastic evening. Enjoy the game tomorrow. As I say, I will be there. If you do see me, feel free to come across and here at the game. Always welcome seeing you guys, and of course, look forward to the vlog that should be out, the matchday vlog on Sunday, all being well. But that's it, guys. As I say, enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll catch you all next time. Nidge out.